Hi everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to New Zealand Outdoor Blades. Please feel free to like, comment and subscribe. It helps a ton and I'm learning a lot from the comments. Today I'm just going to introduce you to a really cool knife that was gifted to me by a buddy of mine, Ian. Ian served in the New Zealand Army and also in the British Airborne Forces, and he gifted me this knife. It's a really special knife when I researched it, and I feel very privileged to own it. So this is the US Army 1943 M3 Camillus trench knife. Really interesting history behind it. Okay, so this knife was produced in the US by a number of different manufacturers between 1943 and 1944. I understand there was actually about 2.5 million of these blades made. Sort of rough specs on this knife is it's a high carbon steel. It was made up, I understand, normally in the northeast of the United States, where a lot of their metal work is done. It comes with this natty sort of little sheath. It has a relatively thin blade, obviously a thrusting point here, double-edged blade, and it has a flat spine up in this area here. Leather hand grip. We have a handguard here with a thumb grip at the top, and a flat pummel here. Could be used for striking or hammering tent pegs or something like this. I understand that the reason it has this flat spine at the top here was actually to strengthen the blade, just to make it a little bit sort of stronger. So this was issued primarily to US Army, not Marines. The Marines had the K-bar knife. This was for US Army, and originally it was designed to replace the World War I trench knife and was issued to more elite forces to start with, which was the US Airborne Forces and the Rangers. Note that this was also designed for those forces like the Airborne and Rangers who may not have had a bayonet with them. They needed a knife for fighting, and they didn't have a bayonet. Later on, it was also issued to other regular soldiers in the army who weren't issued with a bayonet. It was also designed to cover a gap in battlefield capability, and that was a fighting knife. So this was designed to fight with, stabbing thrust for a soldier against an opponent. It was not designed as a combat utility knife. So very, very simple use, basically stabbing and thrusting. Because of the relatively narrow blade and also the fact it has a flat spine on the back, it was less useful for slashing movements. This is more for thrusting movements. So sort of in line with the British Commando dagger. This was also, I understand, issued to US OSS agents who operated behind enemy lines. Really interesting point from an economical perspective is one of the reasons that this blade was designed the way it was actually to save money on metal. So the K-bar knife, which was designed for the US Marines, used more metal. This one with a narrower blade was actually more economic to save precious metal resources at that time. Also note that the K-bar was a combat utility knife, as I understand it, whereas this is purely a fighting knife. A couple of shortfalls with this knife is, I've heard some people describe a soldier's use of a knife as a sharpened crowbar. So typically a soldier will use a knife to open tins of ammo, tins of food. They'll use it for anything that they need to, just to survive on the battlefield. Often less so than actually fighting with it, which I understand is quite rare even in World War II. So these are actually sometimes criticised for not being that strong, because soldiers would attempt to open a crate of ammunition with them and would sometimes end up damaging or breaking the blade. So yeah, interesting perspective on actual what soldiers even back in World War II use these things for. But a really, really neat little blade, and I love the fact it had just such a simple design. So keen to hear what you think. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.